Naomi's feet were on fire. 12 hours of running between tables at La Bellevue, 12 hours of fake smiles and yes ma'am and right away sir, and her shift was finally almost over. She leaned against the kitchen door frame trying to catch her breath. The cut on her heel where her cheap shoe had rubbed through her sock was bleeding again. She could feel the wetness. 45 minutes! Just 45 more minutes and she could go home, peel off these clothes and cry in the shower like she did every night. The evening had been hell. Table 7 sent back their lobster bisque because it wasn't hot enough. Table 12 asked her if she spoke English when she recited the specials with perfect diction. The worst was Table 4, an older white man with a red face who'd had too much wine. When Naomi brought his soup, he took one spoonful, looked her dead in the eye and called her the N-word. Said the soup was cold, just like her people were cold and lazy. She stood there frozen while his wife laughed into her napkin. Manager Douglas had come over, apologized to the man, comped his entire meal, and then pulled Naomi aside to tell her that her tips would be docked to cover it. When she tried to protest, he reminded her that she was replaceable. There were 1,000 girls who'd kill for this job. Naomi had gone to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her face until she could breathe again. Now the dining room was starting to empty. The last few tables were finishing dessert. She could see the end. She was counting down the minutes when she heard it. The sound of the golden entrance doors opening, the whoosh of expensive air conditioning meeting the warm evening breeze. No, please no. She turned and her stomach dropped. A couple was being escorted to table 9. The woman wore a white dress that probably cost more than Naomi's car. Diamonds dripped from her neck and ears. Her black hair was pulled into a perfect chignon. The man beside her wore a suit so crisp it looked like it had never been worn before. They moved through the restaurant like they owned it, eyes scanning everything with cool assessment. Table 9 was in Naomi's section. Of course it was. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Before we dive deeper into this story, I need you to do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. This story you're about to hear is incredibly emotional, and it's going to teach you about standing up for yourself even when the whole world seems against you, and about how karma works in the most unexpected ways. If you're new here, please subscribe and let me know your thoughts as we go through this journey together. Now, let's get back to Naomi's story. Naomi grabbed her order pad and walked to table 9 on legs that felt like they might give out. She fixed her smile in place, the same smile she'd been wearing for 12 hours. Good evening, my name is Naomi and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you off with something to drink? The woman didn't look up. She was studying the menu like it had personally offended her. The man glanced at Naomi briefly, his eyes cold and dismissive. Water sparkling, make sure it's actually cold this time. Last time we were here, the water was room temperature. Unacceptable. The woman finally looked up. Her gaze traveled over Naomi slowly, taking in every detail with obvious distaste. And bring us the wine list, the premium one, not the regular one. I assume you know the difference. Yes ma'am, I'll be right back with those. Naomi turned and walked back to the bar, her jaw clenched so tight her teeth hurt. She could feel their eyes on her back, judging, measuring, finding her lacking. Carlos the bartender saw her face and winced. Bad table. The worst, and I'm so close to being done. Just get through it, Nay, 40 minutes and you're free. She carried the sparkling water and premium wine list back to table 9, set them down gently, pulled out her pad. Have you had a chance to look over the menu? The man, D. Hyun Park, though Naomi didn't know his name yet, didn't even glance at the menu. We'll have the filet mignon, medium rare with the truffle butter and roasted asparagus, and make sure the chef doesn't overcook it. I want to see pink in the center. Do you understand? Yes, sir. The woman Suyeon set down her menu with a delicate clink. I'll have the same, and tell the chef that if it's anything less than perfect, we'll be speaking to the owner. We don't tolerate mediocrity. Naomi wrote down the order, her hand shaking slightly. Of course, I'll put this in right away. She walked back to the kitchen, pushed through the swinging doors and clipped the order to the wheel. Chef Bernard glanced at it and nodded. 15 minutes. Naomi went to check on her other tables, cleared plates, refilled drinks, counted down the minutes. When the steaks were ready, she carried them out carefully, making sure the presentation was perfect. The plates were hot. The steaks were cooked exactly to specification. Pink centers, perfectly seared crusts, the truffle butter melting over the top. She set the plates down in front of the Parks with a smile. 2 filet mignons, medium rare with truffle butter. Is there anything else I can get for you? Soo-yeon cut into her steak immediately. She took one bite, chewed slowly, and then set down her fork with a sharp click. This is overcooked. Naomi's smile faltered. I'm sorry, would you like me to? This is garbage, look at this, there's barely any pink. I asked for medium rare, not medium well. Are you incapable of putting in an order correctly? Dae-hyun cut into his steak and nodded in agreement. Mine too, overcooked, take them back, both of them. Naomi's heart was pounding, she could see the pink centers, the steaks were perfect, but she picked up the plates. I apologize, I'll have the chef prepare new ones right away. She carried the plates back to the kitchen. Chef Bernard took one look at the steaks and exploded. There's nothing wrong with these, they're perfect, what the hell do these people want? They said they're overcooked. They're not, look at them, Naomi, that's textbook medium rare. I know, chef, but they want new ones. Bernard threw his towel on the counter. Fine, but this is the last time I'm remaking something that doesn't need to be remade. He prepared 2 new steaks, cursing under his breath the entire time. Naomi waited, her stomach in knots. 15 minutes later, she carried out the second attempt. Here you are, 2 new filet mignons, medium rare. She set them down and stepped back. Dae-hyun cut into his immediately. He held up a piece on his fork, examining it like it was a science experiment. Now it's too rare, look at this, it's practically bleeding. Are you people incompetent? Sir, you asked for medium rare, that. Don't tell me what I asked for, I know what medium rare looks like. This is not it. Does this establishment not train their staff properly, or do they just hire anyone off the street? Soo-yeon hadn't even touched her steak. Take them back again, and this time tell the chef that if he can't cook a simple steak, perhaps he should find a new profession, just like you should perhaps find a job more suited to your skill level. The words hit Naomi like a slap. She stood there frozen while nearby diners pretended not to watch. I'll take these back. Her hands were shaking so hard the plates rattled. She pushed through the kitchen doors and Chef Bernard took one look at her face. What now? Too rare this time. I quit, I swear to God I quit, those steaks are perfect. Manager Douglas appeared from his office. What's going on? Table 9 keeps sending back their steaks, first 2 well done, now 2 rare. Douglas grabbed one of the plates and examined the steak. This is perfect medium rare, what do they want? I don't know. Make them again, and Naomi, smile more, you're making the customers uncomfortable. Naomi wanted to scream. Instead, she nodded and waited while Chef Bernard prepared a third set of steaks, muttering threats in French under his breath. 20 minutes later, she carried out the third attempt. Her feet were bleeding, her back ached. She had been at work for nearly 13 hours. She set the plates down, and before she could even step back, Soo-yeon pushed her plate away. She didn't cut into it, didn't taste it, just pushed it away. No, I've lost my appetite. The service here is absolutely atrocious. Dae-hyun leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Do you know how much money we spend at restaurants like this? Thousands, tens of thousands, and we're treated like this with incompetence and disrespect. Naomi's exhaustion was turning hot and sharp. Sir, I've brought you 3 perfectly cooked steaks. The chef has prepared each one exactly to your specifications. Don't interrupt me when I'm speaking. Is that how you were raised? No manners at all. Soo-yeon's eyes glittered with malice. Look at you, you can barely afford proper shoes and yet you're working in an establishment like this. Do you even understand what quality means? Have you ever eaten at a restaurant like this as a guest, or are you always on the other side of the table serving your betters? Naomi felt every pair of eyes in the restaurant turn toward their table. Ma'am, I'm just trying to do my job. Your job? Your job is to serve us properly and you failed 3 times. People like you shouldn't work at places like this. You should be at some diner somewhere serving cheap coffee to truck drivers, not here, not around people who actually have standards. The words kept coming, each one designed to cut, to humiliate, to remind Naomi of her place. And Naomi had reached her limit. Stop, just stop insulting me. Her voice came out stronger than she expected. The whole restaurant went quiet. Soo-yeon's face flushed red. Excuse me, did you just tell me to stop? Yes, I did. I've been nothing but professional. I've brought you 3 perfect meals. You've been rude and disrespectful and I'm done. How dare you speak to me that way? Soo-yeon stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. She raised her hand, palm open, arms swinging back. She was going to slap Naomi. Right there in the middle of the restaurant, she was going to hit her. And something inside Naomi snapped. She looked at the plate in front of Soo-yeon, the beautiful filet mignon with truffle butter, the third attempt, the one that had taken 45 minutes to prepare. Time seemed to slow down. Naomi picked up the plate. And she dumped the entire thing onto Soo-yeon's white designer dress. The steak, the truffle butter, the asparagus, all of it slid down the front of Soo-yeon's dress in a glorious mess of brown and green. For good measure, Naomi grabbed Dae-hyun's plate too and appended it onto his custom suit. The restaurant erupted. Soo-yeon was screaming, clawing at her dress. Dae-hyun jumped to his feet, sauce dripping from his lapels. You're finished, do you hear me? Finished, we will destroy you, we'll make sure you never work again, we'll erase you. Do you have any idea who we are? We're powerful, we're connected. We'll bury you so deep no one will even remember your name. Naomi untied her apron. She balled it up and threw it onto their table, right into the mess of food and sauce. I don't care who you are. She turned and walked toward the exit. Her head was high, her hands had stopped shaking. Behind her, Soo-yeon was still screaming, Manager Douglas was running over, other diners were pulling out their phones. Naomi pushed through the golden doors and into the night air. She had just destroyed her life. But God, it felt good. What Naomi didn't see as she walked away was the man sitting in the corner booth. He was dressed casually, a button-down shirt and jeans, nursing a glass of wine. He'd been watching the entire encounter, and he'd been filming. Special Agent David Chen of the FBI lowered his phone and played back the video. Every word, every insult, every moment of Soo-yeon raising her hand to strike, all of it captured in perfect high definition. He'd been tailing the Parks for 3 months as part of a financial investigation. Wire fraud, extortion, bribery. The Parks were dirty and Chen was building a case. But this was a gift. He paid his bill, left a generous tip, and walked out into the night. He had a feeling he'd be hearing from that waitress soon. Naomi made it home to her apartment in Queens just after midnight. The adrenaline that had carried her out of the restaurant was gone. Now she was just terrified. She kicked off her shoes and saw that her socks were soaked with blood. She peeled them off and stared at the raw wounds on her heels. She'd assaulted 2 wealthy people in front of dozens of witnesses. She was definitely fired. She might be arrested and sued. Everything she'd worked for was gone. Her phone rang, unknown number. Her hand shook as she answered. Hello. Is this Naomi Williams? Yes, who is this? My name is David Chen. I'm a special agent with the FBI. I was in the restaurant tonight and I witnessed everything that happened. Naomi's knees buckled. She sat down hard on her couch. Are you calling to arrest me? No, I'm calling to help you. What those people did to you was assault. That woman tried to hit you. I have the entire encounter on video. Everything they said, everything they did. If they come after you, you're going to need this footage. Why would you help me? Because what I saw tonight was wrong, and because I've been investigating Dae-hyun and Soo-yeon Park for months. They're not good people, Miss Williams. They've hurt a lot of people. I'd like to make sure they don't hurt you too. Naomi started crying, big gasping sobs that she couldn't hold back. I just wanted to finish my shift, that's all. I just wanted to go home. I know, listen, I'm going to give you my number. If the Parks contact you, if their lawyers reach out, if anything happens, you call me immediately. Do you understand? Yes. You did nothing wrong tonight, remember that. He hung up. Naomi sat in her dark apartment, her phone clutched in her hand, and cried until she had nothing left. The next morning, Naomi woke up to 17 missed calls, all from La Belle Vue. Her stomach churned as she listened to the voicemails. Manager Douglas wanted her to come in immediately. It was urgent. His voice sounded panicked. She got dressed slowly, each movement painful. Her feet were still raw. She wrapped them carefully in bandages before putting on sneakers. No more heels, not today. When she walked into La Belle Vue at 11 a.m., the restaurant was closed. It shouldn't be closed. They served lunch, but the doors were locked and the lights were dim. Douglas let her in through the side entrance. His face was gray. "Naomi, we need to talk." He led her to his office, and there they were, Dae-hyun and Soo-yeon Park sitting on the leather couch like they owned the place. A man in an expensive suit stood beside them, their lawyer, obviously. Soo-yeon's eyes were red and puffy, her face was blotchy. She looked at Naomi with pure hatred. The lawyer spoke first. "Miss Williams, my clients are prepared to sue you for assault, emotional distress, and destruction of property. The dress Mrs. Park was wearing cost $47,000. Mr. Park's suit was custom-made in Milan for $32,000. In addition, they suffered severe humiliation in front of approximately 60 witnesses. We're estimating damages at $5 million. Naomi couldn't breathe. $5 million. She made $28,000 a year. However, the lawyer continued, "We're also prepared to sue this establishment for negligent hearing and supervision. We have footage of the assault. We will release it to every news outlet in the city. Your reputation will be destroyed, unless..." Douglas leaned forward. "Unless what?" "Unless you terminate Miss Williams immediately, issue a public apology, and pay my clients $250,000 in damages. Those are our terms." Douglas looked at Naomi. She could see the decision in his eyes before he spoke. "Naomi, I'm sorry, you're fired, effective immediately. You'll receive your final paycheck minus the cost of the meals that were wasted last night and minus your share of the settlement." "You're firing me." "I don't have a choice. I have a business to protect. I have 30 employees who depend on me. I can't let these people destroy everything I've built." Naomi stood up. Her legs felt like water. "I was the best waitress you had. For 2 years I never called in sick. I took every shift you needed covered. I smiled while customers called me names, and this is how you repay me." Douglas wouldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry, but you need to leave, now." The lawyer pulled out a document. "Sign this. It's a non-disclosure agreement. You agree not to speak to the press, not to disparage my clients, and not to seek any legal recourse. In exchange, we won't pursue criminal charges." Naomi looked at the paper, then at the Parks. Dae-hyun was smiling slightly. Soo-yeon looked triumphant. "I'm not signing anything." "Then we'll see you in court, and we'll take everything you have, your apartment, your car, your bank accounts. We'll garnish your wages for the rest of your life." Naomi picked up her purse. "Do whatever you want." She walked out of the office, through the empty restaurant, and out into the bright morning sunlight. She was unemployed. She was being sued for $5 million, and she didn't care. She pulled out her phone and dialed the number Agent Chen had given her. He answered on the first ring. "Miss Williams. They just fired me. And they're suing me for $5 million. There was a pause. "Are you somewhere safe?" "I'm standing outside the restaurant." "Stay there, I'm 10 minutes away." David Chen arrived in an unmarked sedan. He was younger than Naomi expected, maybe early 40s, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. He listened while she explained everything. The meeting, the lawsuit, the non-disclosure agreement she'd refused to sign. When she finished, he nodded slowly. "Okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm taking over now. The Parks just made a huge mistake. They threatened you, tried to extort your employer, and they did it all while under federal investigation. This ends tonight." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to give them exactly what they gave you, public humiliation." That evening at 6 p.m., David Chen released the full unedited video to every major news outlet in New York. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, local stations, newspapers, blogs, all of it. The video showed everything: the Parks sending back 3 perfect meals, their escalating insults, Soo-yeon calling Naomi poor, saying she didn't belong in a nice restaurant, telling her to go work at a diner, Dae-hyun questioning her intelligence, her manners, her upbringing. And then the moment Soo-yeon raised her hand to slap Naomi. The video was clear, undeniable. Soo-yeon had been about to strike her. Naomi had defended herself. The internet exploded. By 8 p.m., the video had 3 million views. By midnight, 15 million. The hashtag Justice for Naomi was trending #1 worldwide. Comments poured in by the thousands. People were furious and crying. People were sharing their own stories of being mistreated by wealthy customers. The Parks' personal information was leaked. Their address, their business holdings, their net worth. protesters gathered outside their mansion in the Hamptons. And Yiwon Park was sitting in his office at Vision Tech in Manhattan when his assistant burst through the door. "Have you seen this?" She shoved her phone in his face. Yiwon took it, confused. Then he saw the video, the restaurant, the woman his parents were screaming at. His blood turned to ice. That was Naomi Williams, the waitress from La Bellevue, the woman he'd been working up the courage to ask out for 3 months. The woman who'd rejected him twice, saying rich men only cared about themselves and treated people like garbage. And there were his parents, proving her right in the most spectacular way possible. He watched the entire video, watched his mother try to hit her, watched Naomi finally snap and fight back, watched her walk away with her head high. Yiwon had spent his entire adult life trying to be different from his parents. He'd left their company 2 years ago after a massive fight about their business practices, started his own tech firm from nothing, built it on principles of respect, fairness, and integrity. And now the whole world was seeing exactly why he'd left. His phone rang, his mother. He answered. "Yiwon, we need your help, we're being attacked, someone leaked that video and it's everywhere, you need to use your connections to get it taken down." "Did you do it?" "What?" "What they're saying in the video, did you do it?" A pause. That woman was incompetent, she deserved everything she got. That woman has a name, Naomi Williams, and she's the woman I told you about 3 months ago, the one I said I was interested in, the one you asked me about at dinner, remember? Silence. "You did this to someone I care about. No, I'm not helping you, you're on your own." He hung up. Then he pulled up Naomi's information. It wasn't hard to find. The internet had already doxed everyone involved. He stared at her address for a long time, wondering if he should reach out, wondering if he had any right to after what his parents had done. He decided to wait. This wasn't about him, this was about her. But he'd be there when she was ready, if she was ever ready. At dawn the next day, federal agents arrived at the Park Mansion in the Hamptons. Di-hyun and Soo-yeon were still asleep when the doorbell rang. FBI opened the door. They were arrested in their pajamas, handcuffed in their foyer surrounded by priceless art and antique furniture, read their rights in front of their terrified housekeepers. The charges were extensive: assault, attempted battery, threatening a witness, attempted extortion of a business, and those were just the charges related to Naomi. The financial crimes would come later. News helicopters circled overhead, photographers lined the street. The Parks were led out of their home in handcuffs and loaded into separate cars. Soo-yeon was crying. Di-hyun was screaming about lawyers and connections and people he knew in high places. None of it mattered. The video had changed everything. Naomi watched the arrest on the news from her apartment. She was eating cereal standing up in her kitchen, her phone buzzing non-stop with messages from people she hadn't talked to in years. She watched Di-hyun and Soo-yeon being driven away and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not revenge, just exhaustion. Her phone rang. Agent Chen. "Did you say?" "I saw. They're being arraigned this afternoon. Their bail hearing is tomorrow. I'll keep you updated." "Thank you." "Naomi, there's something else. The Parks are going to offer you a settlement. A real one this time. My advice, take it. Take the money and use it to start over somewhere these people can't touch you." "How much?" "I'm guessing at least 300,000, maybe more. They're desperate to make this go away." Naomi leaned against her counter. $300,000, that was more money than her mother had made in 10 years working as a nurse. More money than Naomi had ever imagined having. "Okay, if they offer, I'll take it." "Good, you deserve it, and Naomi, you're going to be okay." She hung up and finished her cereal, then she showered, put on clean clothes and went for a walk, just to prove to herself that she could, that she wasn't hiding, that she'd done nothing wrong. People stared at her on the subway. A few took pictures. One woman stopped her to say thank you, that she'd waited tables for 20 years and had wanted to do what Naomi did 1,000 times. Naomi smiled and kept walking. The settlement offer came 3 days later, $350,000 in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement and agreeing not to pursue any additional civil claims. Agent Chen reviewed it and gave his approval. "This is good, Naomi, take it." She signed. 2 weeks later, the money hit her account. Naomi stared at the number on her phone screen for a full 5 minutes. It didn't feel real. She paid off her student loans, paid off her credit cards, sent money to her mother, put the rest in savings. And then she applied for unemployment and tried to figure out what came next. The internet hadn't forgotten. Articles were still being written, think pieces about race and class and service workers. The parks were out on bail, but their empire was crumbling. Investors were jumping ship, stock prices were dropping, business partners were issuing statements distancing themselves from the Park family. And then the interviews started. A former housekeeper came forward. She'd worked for the parks for 6 years. She described being called names, being forced to work 18-hour days, being threatened with deportation if she complained. She still had the texts Soo-yeon had sent her, vile, racist messages telling her she was lucky to clean their toilets. A business partner gave an interview describing how Di-hyun had destroyed his company for sport, how he'd stolen patents, bribed officials, and then laughed about it over drinks. Former employees came forward with stories of wage theft, sexual harassment, hostile work environments. The parks had spent decades hurting people, and now those people were talking. Park Industries' stock crashed. They lost 30% of their value in a week. Major clients pulled contracts. Buildings they owned lost tenants. Di-hyun and Soo-yeon went from billionaires to millionaires in 3 weeks. They sold their Hamptons estate, sold their yacht, sold their collection of sports cars, liquidated assets to pay legal fees and settlements. Their fall was spectacular, public, brutal. And through it all, their son stayed silent. Yi-won visited them once at their Manhattan penthouse. It was smaller now, they'd sold the bigger one, everything felt diminished. His mother's face was gaunt, his father looked like he'd aged 10 years. "We need your help," his mother said. "We need you to make a statement. Tell people we're not like this, that the video was taken out of context." Yi-won sat across from them in the living room. "I'm not going to lie for you. We're your parents. You treated that woman like garbage, you tried to hit her. And when she defended herself, you tried to destroy her life. No, I'm not helping you cover this up." His father leaned forward. "Do you know who that woman is? Do you have any idea what kind of family she comes from? She's nobody, nothing, and you're taking her side over ours." Yeowon stood up. "That woman is Naomi Williams, and she's the woman I told you about 3 months ago. At dinner when you asked if I was seeing anyone, I told you I'd met someone, that I was trying to work up the courage to ask her out. I told you she was smart, strong, and that she didn't care about money or status. Remember?" His mother's face went white. "That's her. That's her. The woman you humiliated is the woman I'm in love with, so no, I'm not helping you. You did this to yourselves." He walked out and didn't look back. Naomi spent the next month in a strange limbo. She was famous but unemployed, recognized everywhere but going nowhere. She filled out job applications, but her name was too well known. Restaurants didn't want the attention. Retail stores worried she'd be a distraction. She was running out of money again when her doorbell rang on a Tuesday afternoon. She opened it and there stood a man about her age, wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt, holding 2 coffees from the shop down the street. "Hi, my name is Yeowon Park. I know you don't want to see me and I understand, but I was hoping I could talk to you for 5 minutes." Naomi's first instinct was to slam the door. But she looked at him. He didn't look like his parents. His eyes were kind. He looked like someone who'd been carrying something heavy for a long time. 5 minutes. She let him in. He handed her one of the coffees. "I don't know if you remember me. I used to come to La Bellevue a lot, always requested your section. I asked you out twice. You said no both times." Naomi did remember, the polite guy who tipped well and never complained about anything, who'd asked her to dinner once and then, a month later, to coffee. She turned him down both times. "I remember. You told me that rich men only care about themselves, that they treat people like they're disposable. You were right." Naomi sipped her coffee. "Your parents proved my point." "They did, and I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean much coming from me, but I need you to know that I'm not involved in their business. I haven't been for 2 years. I started my own company because I couldn't stand who they were anymore. Why are you here? Because I watched that video and it made me sick. I've spent my whole life watching my parents treat people the way they treated you. I wanted to tell you that you were right to fight back. You were right about everything. They sat in her tiny living room and talked. Yeowon told her about growing up in the Park household, about watching his parents berate staff, humiliate service workers, destroy people for entertainment. About the day he left their company and his father told him he'd never amount to anything without the family name. He'd proven them wrong. Vision Tech was thriving, 60 employees and growing. He treated them well, paid them fairly, promoted from within. Why are you telling me this? Because I wanted you to know that not everyone with money is like them, and because I wanted to offer you a job. Naomi nearly dropped her coffee. What? I need an operations manager, someone smart who understands customer service and logistics, someone who knows what it's like to work hard. The pay is $90,000 a year with full benefits and equity options. And before you say no, I'm not offering this because of what happened. I'm offering because you're exactly who I need. I don't have a degree in operations management. Neither did I when I started my company. I have a degree in computer science and I taught myself the rest. You'll figure it out. Naomi stared at him. Why would you help me? Because it's the right thing to do, and because I've been trying to ask you out for 3 months and every time I work up the courage, something stops me. Maybe this is fate giving me another shot. Despite everything, Naomi laughed. That's the worst pickup line I've ever heard. I know, I'm terrible at this, but the job offer is real. Come visit Vision Tech, meet the team. If you hate it, you don't have to take it, but at least give me a chance to show you that not all of us are like my parents. Naomi visited Vision Tech the following Monday. The office was in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn, all exposed brick and natural light. The energy was different from any place she'd ever worked. People were laughing, talking, collaborating. Yeowon introduced her to his leadership team. His CFO was a woman who'd started as a junior accountant. His head of engineering had been promoted from an intern position. Everyone had a story about Yeowon giving them a chance when no one else would. They treated her like a person, not a celebrity, not a victim, just Naomi. At the end of the tour, Yeowon walked her to the door. So what do you think? I think you're either the kindest person I've ever met or the best liar. He laughed. I promise I'm not lying. This company means everything to me. I want to build something that proves you can be successful without being cruel. Will you help me? Naomi looked back at the office, at the people who seemed genuinely happy to be there. Okay, I'll try it for 3 months. If it doesn't work out, I walk, no hard feelings. Deal. She started the following week, and to her surprise, she was good at it. She understood workflow and efficiency. She knew how to talk to people, how to motivate them, and how to solve problems before they became disasters. Within a month, she'd reorganized their entire supply chain and saved the company $80,000. Within 2 months, Yeowon was asking her opinion on everything. And somewhere in the middle of all that work, all those late nights planning and strategizing and building something together, Naomi realized she was falling for him. It terrified her. One evening, 6 months after she'd started at Vision Tech, they were working late on a pitch for a major client. The office was empty, just the two of them and the glow of computer screens. Yeowon looked up from his laptop. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really say no when I asked you out before everything happened? Naomi set down her pen. Because I'd been hurt before by a guy who had money. He made me feel small, like I should be grateful he was paying attention to me, and I swore I'd never let anyone make me feel that way again. I would never do that to you. I know, I see how you are with everyone here. You hold doors open for people, you remember birthdays, you listen. You're nothing like your parents. They're not bad people, Naomi, they're just broken. They think money and power are the only things that matter. They've forgotten how to be human. Do you still talk to them? Not really, they're angry that I won't help them rebuild their reputation. They think I've betrayed them. Have you? No, I've just chosen a different path. One where I don't have to hurt people to feel important. Naomi stood up and walked around the desk. She stood in front of him and took a deep breath. Ask me again. Ask you what? Ask me out like you did at the restaurant. Yoan smiled, that genuine, open smile that made her chest tight. Naomi Williams, would you have dinner with me, not as colleagues, as something more?
Yes.
Their first date was at a small Korean restaurant in Queens. No fancy wine lists or white tablecloths, just good food and better conversation. They talked for 4 hours, about their childhoods, their dreams, their fears, about what it meant to be good in a world that often rewarded cruelty. At the end of the night, Yoan walked her to her door. This might be the best date I've ever had. Naomi laughed. It's definitely the best one I've had. Can I see you again? Yes, but slow. Okay, I need to slow. Slow is good. I've waited this long, I can wait longer. They took it slow, dinners once a week, coffee on Saturdays, long walks through Central Park. They didn't tell anyone at work, kept it private. And slowly, Naomi let herself believe that maybe not everyone with money was cruel, that maybe some people really were different. A year after Naomi had poured those steaks onto his parents, Yoan took her to dinner at a rooftop restaurant in Manhattan. The city sparkled below them. The air was warm with summer. They ordered wine, talked about a new contract Vision Tech had just landed, laughed about the time their head of marketing had accidentally sent a meme to a client. And then Yoan reached across the table and took her hand. I have to tell you something. Okay. I'm in love with you. I think I've been in love with you since the first time you rejected me at La Belle Via, and I know we're taking things slow. I respect that, but I needed you to know, in case you were wondering. Naomi felt tears spring to her eyes. I'm in love with you too. Yeah, and it terrifies me. Me too, but good terrified, like jumping off a cliff and hopping you can fly terrified. She laughed through her tears. That's exactly what it feels like. 6 months later, Yi-won proposed, not at a fancy restaurant or in front of a crowd, just in her apartment on a random Tuesday night while they were making dinner together. He got down on one knee right there in her tiny kitchen and asked her to marry him. She said yes before he finished the question. But they both knew the hard part was coming. He had to tell his parents. Yi-won drove to his parents' penthouse on a Saturday morning. They were out on bail, awaiting trial. Their legal team was fighting to get the charges reduced, but it wasn't looking good. They'd already lost almost everything. His mother answered the door. She looked tired, older. Yi-won, what a surprise. I need to talk to you and Dad. They sat in the living room. His father didn't get up when he entered. Yi-won sat across from them and pulled out his phone. He showed them a picture of the ring. I'm getting married. His mother looked at the photo. Who is she? Her name is Naomi Williams. The room went silent. His father's face turned red. No, absolutely not. I'm not asking for permission, I'm telling you. That's the girl from the restaurant, the one who assaulted us. The one you tried to hit, you mean, the one you humiliated in front of dozens of people. His mother stood up. If you marry her, we will disown you, we will cut you off completely, you'll get nothing, no inheritance, no family connections, nothing. Yi-won stood too. You don't seem to understand. I don't need your money. I'm worth more than you are now. Vision Tech is valued at over $1 billion. I built that, without your help, without your name. I did it by being a decent person. His father finally spoke, his voice cold. Then why are you here? Because you're my parents, and I wanted to tell you that the woman I'm marrying is the woman I told you about 1.5 years ago. At dinner when you asked if I was seeing anyone, I told you I'd met someone special, someone different. Remember that conversation? His mother sank back onto the couch. That was her. That was her, so you attacking her, humiliating her, trying to destroy her life? You did that to the woman I love, and I'll never forgive you for it. Yi-won walked to the door, then he turned back. The wedding is in 6 months, you're invited, but I'm marrying Naomi with or without your blessing, with or without you there, she's my family now. He left them sitting in their diminished penthouse, surrounded by the ruins of their empire. Wedding planning consumed the next 6 months. Naomi's mother flew in from Atlanta. Her sisters helped her pick a dress. Yi-won spared no expense. 300 guests, a venue in the Hamptons, celebrity planners, flowers shipped in from Holland. Naomi kept saying it was too much. Yi-won kept saying she deserved everything. The invitations went out, including one to Daehyun and Suyeon Park. They RSVP'd yes, but everyone knew it would be tense. The wedding day was perfect. Clear blue sky, warm sun, gentle breeze coming off the ocean. The venue was stunning, all white flowers and flowing silk. Naomi's dress was custom-made, elegant and simple. Her mother cried when she saw her. "Baby, you look like a queen. I feel like one." The ceremony was set to start at 4 p.m. Guests began arriving at 3. Naomi's family and friends filled the left side. Yiwon's employees and business associates filled the right. At 3:45, a town car pulled up. Daehyun and Suyeon emerged dressed formally but their faces cold and distant. They walked into the venue and took seats in the back row, far from the family section. They didn't smile, didn't greet anyone, just sat stiffly watching. The ceremony began. Naomi walked down the aisle on her mother's arm, tears streaming down her face. Yiwon stood at the altar, openly weeping. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves, about choosing love over pride, about building something new together, about proving that kindness wasn't weakness. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the crowd erupted in applause. Yiwon kissed Naomi like they were the only two people in the world. From the back row, Daehyun and Suyeon sat motionless. The reception was lavish. Dinner, dancing, toasts that made everyone cry. Naomi's sister talked about how strong Naomi was. Yiwon's best friend talked about how he'd changed since meeting her. Through it all, Yiwon's parents sat at their table, barely eating and speaking. At 9 p.m. they stood up and left. No goodbyes, no congratulations, they just walked out into the night. Naomi saw them go from across the room. Yiwon was beside her. They left. "I know. Are you okay?" He pulled her close. "I'm perfect, I'm married to you, that's all that matters." They danced until midnight, surrounded by people who loved them, people who understood that family was more than blood, that respect was earned through action, not demanded through status. Life moved forward. Naomi and Yiwon moved into a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn. Vision Tech continued to grow. Naomi was promoted to COO. They traveled, built a life together and were happy. 2 years passed. Naomi got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but it was welcome. They were both terrified and thrilled. She gave birth to a healthy baby boy in the spring. They named him Daniel, after Naomi's father who'd passed when she was 12. The first few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights, diaper changes, and overwhelming love. Naomi had never felt anything like it, this tiny human who depended on her for everything. When Daniel was 3 weeks old, there was a knock at their door on a Sunday morning. Yiwon was holding the baby. Naomi went to answer it. Standing on their front steps were Daehyun and Suyeon Park. They looked different, smaller somehow. His father's hair had gone completely gray. His mother's face was lined with new wrinkles. They were holding flowers and gift bags. Naomi froze. "Hello, Naomi. What are you doing here?" Suyeon's voice cracked. "We heard about the baby. We wanted to meet our grandson, if that's okay." Naomi didn't move nor speak. Yiwon came to the door, Daniel in his arms. He looked at his parents and his expression hardened. "You don't get to just show up." His mother started crying. "Please, please just let us meet him. Let us see him once." Yiwon looked at Naomi. She could see the conflict in his eyes. These were his parents, but they'd hurt her so badly. Naomi looked at Suyeon's tears, at Daehyun's trembling hands. 5 minutes. They stepped aside. Daehyun and Suyeon walked in slowly like they were entering a holy place. Yiwon didn't hand them the baby, just stood there holding Daniel while his parents looked at him from 3 feet away. "He's beautiful," Suyeon whispered. "His name is Daniel." "Daniel, that's a good name." They stood in awkward silence, then Suyeon turned to Naomi. "Can I hold him?" Naomi's instinct was to say no, to protect her son from these people who'd tried to destroy her. But she looked at Yiwon. This was his decision too. He walked over and carefully placed Daniel in his mother's arms. Suyeon looked down at the baby and completely fell apart. Huge, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. She held Daniel like he was made of glass. "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." She looked up at Naomi, tears streaming. "What I did to you was unforgivable." The things I said, the way I treated you trying to hit you, I was cruel and vicious and I've regretted it every single day since. I don't expect you to forgive me, I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know that I'm sorry, that I'm ashamed and that I would take it all back if I could. Dae-hyun stepped forward. We lost everything because of what we did. Our money, our reputation, our son, we deserved to lose it all, but the worst part wasn't losing our fortune. It was realizing that we'd become monsters, that we'd raised our son in a house full of hate and he was brave enough to leave, brave enough to be better than us. He looked at Yi-won. You built an empire without us. You proved that success doesn't require cruelty, that we were wrong about everything. And then you married the woman we tried to destroy. You chose her over us and you were right to do it. Soo-yeon was still holding Daniel, rocking him gently. Our fall taught us what we should have learned 50 years ago, that humility comes before honor, that pride comes before destruction. We spent our lives stepping on people to get higher and it all came crashing down, as it should have. She kissed Daniel's forehead. I don't expect you to let us be part of his life, but I'm asking, I'm begging, let us try to be better, let us be the grandparents he deserves, not the people we were but the people we're trying to become. Naomi looked at her son in this woman's arms, at the tears falling onto his blanket, at the genuine anguish in Soo-yeon's eyes. She thought about everything they'd put her through, the humiliation, the pain, the fear. She thought about the months of struggling to find work, the nightmares, the trauma. But she also thought about grace, about second chances, about the fact that people could change if they really wanted to. Forgiveness is a process, Naomi said slowly. Not an event. You can't just apologize and expect everything to be okay. I know. But you can start today by understanding that respect is earned through action, by showing us that you're different, by being kind to the people you meet, by treating service workers, employees, and strangers with dignity. We will, I promise we will. Naomi looked at Yi-won, he nodded slightly. You can visit once a month, we'll see how it goes. But if you ever treat anyone the way you treated me, if I ever hear about you being cruel or dismissive or hateful, you're done, permanently, understood? Understood. Soo-yeon handed Daniel back to Naomi, their hands touched briefly. Naomi saw the hope in her eyes. Thank you for giving us a chance. They left a few minutes later. Naomi and Yi-won stood in their doorway, watching the car drive away. Do you think they'll really change? Yi-won wrapped his arm around her waist. I don't know, but I think they want to, and that's a start. Naomi looked down at Daniel, sleeping peacefully in her arms. She'd survived the worst day of her life and come out stronger. She'd fought back against people who thought they were untouchable. She'd found love with someone who saw her worth when she couldn't see it herself. And now she had a family, a real family built on respect, kindness, and hope. The Parks kept their word. They visited once a month. At first it was awkward, stilted conversations and careful boundaries, but slowly things shifted. Dae-hyun and Soo-yeon started volunteering at a homeless shelter. They funded scholarships for underprivileged students. They went to therapy separately and together, trying to understand how they'd become the people they were. They were different around Daniel, gentle, patient, present in a way they'd never been with Yi-won. One evening, almost a year after that first visit, Soo-yeon was helping Naomi with dinner while the men played with Daniel in the living room. Soo-yeon was chopping vegetables, moving carefully like she was afraid of doing something wrong. I never thanked you, she said quietly. For what? For showing me who I really was. That video, watching myself on screen, hearing the things I said, I didn't recognize myself. I'd become someone I hated and I didn't even realize it. Naomi added olive oil to pan. Do you know why I poured that food on you? Because I deserved it. No, because I spent 12 hours that day being treated like I was less than human, and I finally decided I was worth more than that. I wasn't trying to teach you a lesson, I was trying to save myself. Soo-yeon stopped chopping. You did save yourself? And in doing that you saved my son. He would have spent his whole life running from us if you hadn't shown him it was possible to fight back, to stand up, to choose dignity over safety. She turned to face Naomi. I wish I could go back and be different that night. I wish I could be the kind of person who tips well and says thank you and remembers that waitresses are human beings with feelings and families and dreams. But I can't go back. All I can do is try to be better now. That's all any of us can do. They finished making dinner together, set the table, called the men in, ate as a family. And for the first time it felt real, not forced, not performative, just real. Years passed, Daniel grew, Vision Tech became one of the most successful tech companies in the country. Naomi wrote a book about her experience that became a bestseller. Yi-won gave talks about ethical business practices. The Parks never fully recovered their wealth, but they rebuilt their reputation through quiet, consistent action. They became known for their philanthropy, for their humility, for being an example of what redemption could look like. On Daniel's 5th birthday, they all gathered at the brownstone. Naomi's family, Yi-won's parents, friends, and colleagues. The house was full of laughter, chaos, and love. Ji-hyun found Naomi alone in the kitchen, preparing more food. "Can I help?" She handed him a knife and a cutting board. They worked in silence for a moment, then he spoke. "I never properly thanked you for letting us back into Yi-won's life, into your life. You've thanked me plenty." "No, I haven't, because thank you isn't enough for what you've given us. The chance to know our grandson, the chance to be better, the chance to be part of a family again." He set down the knife. "You had every right to keep us away forever. What we did was unforgivable. But you chose grace instead of revenge. You chose to believe people could change. That's a gift I'll never be able to repay." Naomi looked at this man who'd once threatened to destroy her, who'd lost everything because of his own cruelty, who'd spent 5 years trying to earn back the trust he'd shattered. "You're repaying it every day, by being kind, by showing Daniel what it looks like to admit you were wrong and do better, by proving that change is possible." She picked up the vegetables they'd cut and added them to a bowl. "The story of that night will never go away. The video is still out there. People still recognize me, but I'm not defined by what happened to me. I'm defined by what I did next." "What did you do next?" "I chose love. I chose forgiveness. I chose to believe that even broken people can be put back together." They walked back to the party together. Back to the noise, laughter, and joy, back to a family that had been shattered and rebuilt into something stronger. Naomi stood in her living room, surrounded by everyone she loved, and felt something she hadn't felt that night at La Belle Vue when she'd poured those steaks. Peace. She'd survived, she'd fought back, she'd won. Not by destroying the people who hurt her, but by refusing to let them make her bitter, by choosing to build something beautiful instead of burning everything down. Yi-won found her and pulled her close. "What are you thinking about? How far we've come. From that night at the restaurant. From that night, from everything." He kissed her forehead. "I'm proud of you, you know that, right?" "I know." Across the room, Soo-yeon was holding Daniel, reading him a story. Ji-hyun was talking to Naomi's mother, laughing at something she'd said. It wasn't perfect, it would never be perfect, but it was real, it was honest. It was built on a foundation of humility and hard-earned trust. And that, Naomi thought, was worth more than all the money and power in the world. She'd stood up in that restaurant and fought for her dignity, and in doing so she'd changed not just her own life but the lives of everyone around her. That was the real victory. Not the settlement money, or the viral video, or the book deals. The victory was standing in her own home, surrounded by family who loved her, knowing that she'd never again let anyone make her feel small. That was worth everything.